Raila-led Azimio la Umoja and government's Kenya Kwanza Alliance bipartisan teams failed to reach a consensus on pertinent issues as the discussions began in Nairobi on Thursday, April 20th.
Pale ambapo hatukuweza kuelewana ni pengine katika wale wabunge wawili.
To begin engaging informally.
It is the beginning, and we are all intent in settling all the issues, and we have said that indeed we have been speaking at each other.
As expected, we will agree on certain issues. We will most definitely disagree on certain issues. But at the heart of it, and the thing that we want the country to celebrate, is the fact that we have begun the process of at least first coming together, listening to each other.
The Raila Odinga-led wing in the National Assembly stated that they had raised concerns over the composition of negotiators representing President William Ruto. Speaking after the meeting, Minority Leader in the National Assembly Opiyo Wandayi objected to the inclusion of Eldas, a Member of Parliament, Aden Keynan, in the committee.
We did raise the issue of the inclusion of the Honorable Aden Keynan, the MP for Elders, as a member of the Kenya Kwanza negotiating team. And our objection was premised on the fact that Aden Keynan is a member of the Jubilee Party, and the Jubilee Party remains a constituent party of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition.
Wandayi noted that President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga will be involved in order to end the political impasse.
For us to resolve this matter and move forward and progress this engagement, we shall be referring these matters to the leadership of our respective coalitions, with a view to having it resolved the soonest possible time.
Meanwhile, Wandayi stated that the two teams had every reason to begin talks informally without necessarily being organized in committee forms.
But more importantly, we have allowed the two negotiating teams to begin engaging informally to explore the issues of the terms of reference of this bipartisan process or committee, and the nature that they should take the discussions themselves. And if there are areas that, of course, they don't agree, they would be able to come back to us.
President Ruto's Kenya Kwanza team also raised issues on the composition of Ruto's team, calling out Azimio for the inclusion of Pokot South Member of Parliament, David Pkosing.
It is indeed true, there is that issue on the composition of the bipartisan team. And as has been stated, we appreciate that the composition of both teams, that of the Azimio coalition, that of the Kenya Kwanza coalition, was arrived at following engagements between the party leadership of both coalitions and the membership, the party membership, in our respective parliamentary group meetings.
Katika wale watu ambao tulikuwa tumewachagua, saba upande huu na saba upande huu, ni jambo ambalo tumejadiliana na tumeafikiana ya kwamba ni sawa, wanaweza kukaa kwanza na wakaanza mkutano.
They have also raised an issue in the course of our discussions about our inclusion of the Honorable David Pkosing as a member of our negotiating team, as Azimio, on the ground that the Honorable Pkosing's party leader, the Honorable Governor Longanyapuo, has since entered in some arrangement with Kenya Kwanza which of course we are not privy to, I must confess. So we have objected to their objection. Okay? They have equally objected to our objection. And therefore, to be frank enough, that amounts to a stalemate. But we have chosen, as the leadership of the two coalitions in the houses, that
Ichung'wa also asked Azimio leaders to exercise restraint even as they seek to have their issues resolved, noting that the leadership of both coalitions should seek peace. The MPs also resolved the issue of the leadership of both teams that will be involved in the bipartisan talks.
Been speaking at each other in press conferences, in rallies, in other public engagements, but today we begin to speak to each other, not at each other, and to engage and put all the issues that have been raised out there on the table. And I just want to assure the country that as the House leadership, we are intent on beginning this process with a spirit of give and take. It is a negotiation, it is a dialogue process, and that is why we have committed to speaking to each other.
Of course, you know by now that we have got the Honorable Tinda Molo as the leader of our team in those negotiations. And my colleagues will announce the...
You can actually announce.
Actually, they have actually settled on the Honorable Gitonga Murugara as the leader of the negotiating team on the Kenya Kwanza side. So that is settled. We have got one sticking issue that needs to be resolved. In the course of our engagement this morning,
Azimio coalition has insisted that the talks should be extra-parliamentary, conversing on 4 thematic areas, which include the high cost of living and forensic audit of the IEBC servers.
We have sizo siku zingine watu tunajibu. Leo tukiomba kutuelewa.
Kenya Kwanza Alliance are pushing for engagement guided by the parliamentary standing orders only, focused on the reconstitution of the poll body IEBC. This comes even as the Kenya Kwanza Alliance settled on Tharaka MP George Murugara to steer the Kenya Kwanza bipartisan team. The stalemate on membership will, however, not derail informal talks by the bipartisan team, as they will continue engaging on the terms of reference. The Raila Odinga-led coalition has been opposed to post-elections political pacts that has seen several political parties show dalliance to the ruling coalition.
We have begun this process with utmost goodwill.
At the heart of the previous demos by Azimio la Umoja coalition team was the complaint that the IEBC selection panel, which had already begun the work, was full of people seconded by President Ruto.
And
Raila Odinga, the leader of Azimio, wanted the laws on who sits in the selection panel revised to also give the opposition a fair chance of shaping the next IEBC team.
Alipana Ruto mpaka azuiliwe kuteua tume nyingine ya uchaguzi ambayo ni yake, ni kama kagosi yake. Kama amefanya na hiyo, kutakuwa kuna uchaguzi katika taifa letu.
It is this conflict that saw President Ruto admitting that the issues raised by the opposition were valid and a solution was urgently needed. For Maisha Prime, Maisha Television, I'm Bushabi Jr.